What's up, folks? Sean the Average Angler back at it with another video for you. This is a really good one, man. This was a great video. We're kind of learning as we do some of these tests and stuff, and I think you're going to be impressed with this one. Not to mention, is Xzone going to get a little redemption with the Deception Worm? Deception or reality? What do you guys think? Put the comment down below now. Let me know how you think it's going to turn out for the Xzone Deception Worm. Okay? We tested this Xzone worm right here. This color is called Sprayed Grass. There it is. We tested that one. We tested the 6th Sense Divine Shaky worm. This is a 6.3 inch 6th Sense worm. Comes in the clamshell pack, which I really like because it keeps the worm straight. And bringing up the last one, the Tournament Series Bass Pro Shops 6.5 inch candy bug finesse finicky, it's called FIN/EKE. Okay, and we'll see who wins the battle of the shaky heads. If you're new to the channel and you like this kind of content, hit that subscribe button right down there, over there somewhere. All right, guys, let me tell you, the more I'm doing these, the more I'm learning, the more I'm liking this. And what I've realized is that whether a worm floats or sinks doesn't make it a bad bait. It means we need to know what it does so that we can fish it the proper way. Because I think you'll see in the test, I kind of came to this conclusion and started showing how you can fish it depending on which type of worm it is. Doesn't mean one's better than the other. One's better than the other when the fish want the worm that way. But the rest of the time, yeah, it's all who knows, right? All right, so let's get into this. Let's take a look here. And the first worm we're going to do is the 6th Sense Divine Shaky Worm. So let's take a look, then we'll talk about it. Okay, next up on the Bass Union Shaky Head, we are going to have the 6th Sense Divine Shaky Worm. This is a 6.3 inch green pumpkin. Comes in a nice clamshell package to keep the baits in line, straight, and in good shape. Really like that. Let's see how the worm works. Okay, not bad. Let's call her a sinker, but on this head, it's kind of holding the tail up some. So the head will support the tail, keeping it off the bottom. The action's really good. This is a little bulkier worm than the last one. So you'll have a little more presence, a little slower movement. So to me, this is one of those that we're gonna move around a bit more. We're gonna pick it up off the bottom, let it fall back down, just like you're seeing me do there. Now shaking it, you'll see it's got really good movement like that. Another good worm, but as we go, you'll see it's starting to get lower and lower to the bottom. Now the head can't right itself. So we're gonna hop her up, and she rights herself again. Okay, these are things we need to learn about each worm. Like I said, it doesn't mean they're bad, it just means they need to be fished a certain way. I really like the movement when you pop that baby up there, and when you're shaking it like this, it's got great action through the tail end. Now this is a little different design. It's fatter, then goes thin in that rear third, and then starts to thicken up with that bulb tail again. So it looks like, depending on what you're on the bottom, it might hold that worm up a little higher, but it is a sinker. I already threw the worm in. with nothing on it, and it sunk to the bottom. Actually had pretty good movement, by the way, too. So that is another way you could fish this, is weightless. There is a decent amount of weight to it. Okay, that is the 6 cents Divine Shaky Worm. See the action there, really good. But eventually it goes down and tips over. So we pop her up and she's right back upright again. So shake it a little bit, pop it up. All right, that's just how this worm needs to be fished. All right, so what do you guys think? You know, I kind of start to get this thought just in my head, okay? This is my thinking. When I hear shaky worm, I kind of expect the shaky worm to stand up. I don't know why, but that's just kind of what I expect, right? We have a shaky head and it stands on the bottom like so. So I kind of expect the tail to stand up. Some do, some don't. I think the important thing is to know what does, what doesn't, and then also what type of action does that worm have? Is there secondary action? Is the movement in the water from the bait slow? Is it faster? And you'll see what I mean as we go through these worms. The 6 cents Divine Shaky Worm, it's a sinker. You could kind of see it in the video, but not totally. This is a worm that you want to move. When it was moving, the head would land, it would slowly come down, and it would wiggle side to side. Kind of what I call secondary action. And then when it was bent like this and it was coming back, it worked much slower than some of the other worms. So it's just a different action. What I found with this worm was the best way to fish it was pop it up, let it sink. You could shake it a little bit and then you pop it up again. That seemed to give the worm the best action. And it is ribbed also, which is another interesting thing here, right? That's going to move more water. Ribbed through the front of the body, ribbed back on the tail again, much smaller ribbed in this area, which was actually the area that lets it get all its action. So enough of that. The 6 cents, not a worm I'm gonna run out and buy a bunch of, although it'll work. I think it'll perform well. I think there's a lot of worms that will do that. All right, next, let's do the tournament series Bass Pro Shops worm. Okay, let's take a look. All right, next we have the Bass Pro Shops Tournament Series Finicky Worm. 6-inch worm. It's kind of like a trick worm shape, sort of. Color is candy bug. Really good presence with that color. And you will see it looks like she is a floater. Good movement there throughout the back of the worm. That tail goes down as you're shaking. Stop and it comes back up. Great secondary action. I really like this worm. It's got that nice, lazy, slow movement to it. Look at the movement, just keeps going, keeps going. Give her a little shake. I gotta say, folks, I haven't been the biggest Bass Pro Shops fan, but this is the second bait in a week that we have put in the tank, in the pool, that has been quite impressive. Let me fix that rigging. I didn't rig it the best. I've got a crazy bend in it. All right, that should be better. There we go. So now it's not floating up quite as high. So this is a good example of using different heads. If you use that Frenzy Nail stand-up head, I think this worm would be standing straight up and down. It's got pretty good buoyancy, good action, good secondary action. And that candy bug is a beautiful color, that purple. All right, you guys, so what do you think of that one? Comment below, let's talk about it. All right, what do you think? Were you surprised? I was really surprised. And I do want to point out too that Bass Pro Shops, they say they're scented, okay? I believe in scent. I don't think it can hurt. I especially like stuff that comes pre-scented. But the Bass Pro Shops worm performed outstanding. And because I rigged it funky in the beginning, the tail stood up higher. Once I fixed it, it kind of stayed in line, kept itself pretty straight. Didn't have enough buoyancy to do this to it, but it stayed this way. That tells me that this worm could be fished very well on a stand-up head, something like that Frenzy Nail that I use a lot. Today we use the Bass Union weedless head. Okay, I really like the Bass Union for a lot of my worms. This one I thought you could fish on either. Performs extremely well. You get 16 worms for what I believe, if I remember right, was $4.99. So 16 worms for $4.99, pretty good value. These are a little tougher plastic than the other ones. Action was a little different than our next one we're going to take a look at, and we'll talk about that. I don't want to spoil it until after we see, because if you recall, I've been a little harsh on the Xzone products. Not because I don't like them. I've always liked Xzone. I've just been a little surprised with the Xzone stuff since we started doing the in the water stuff and I started seeing it. But I had not fished this bait before. Several of my viewers requested this bait, so we will take a look at it. Now the complaint I had is, you can see right here, okay? The kink in it, I don't know that it's going to affect the fish from biting it. I just don't like it. I think Xzone could do a better job with packaging so that when they're delivering baits to the consumer, you and me, they're in a little better condition, okay? Now I can fix them, I can boil them. It's just work, it takes time. That's besides the point. Let's take a look, see what you guys think. All right, first victim in the pool. Will it be Deception or Redemption? We had the Xzone 6-inch Deception Worm. This one was by popular demand. And first thing you'll notice, that tail stands up. One thing I will bring to point, this worm has really good action. The head we're fishing this on is a 1/4 ounce Bass Union weedless shaky head. Look at that. Really good movement from the Deception Worm, good float. Fantastic worm for the shaky head. You see it stand up there. Watch, it'll slowly, see if I can get a better angle for you. It will slowly rise and start to tip that shaky head up. So good flotation in this one, really good movement. Fantastic color, nice translucent watermelon. I think it's watermelon candy. A really good color in this one. You see the good movement there. So one thing I want to bring to light with these shaky heads is just because the tail sinks doesn't mean it's a bad worm. It just means we need to pay attention to what the worm does underwater, and then we can decide how it needs to be fished, in my opinion. So whereas this worm stands up really well like that, this is a good worm to work slowly, shake a little bit on the bottom, because you got good action in the tail standing up. If it doesn't, then you just want to hop it more like this. So this could be different times a year, that kind of thing. So, you know, it pays to know what your worm will do. All right, I'm pretty happy with the Xzone Deception Worm. Big redemption for Xzone. Like I said, most companies have some good baits. This is a really good one, okay? They have great colors to boot. The only downside, like I said, was some of the worms were kinked in the package. You can fix that by boiling, or hopefully Xzone will just do something with the packaging to protect against that. Let's get on to the next one. Bam! What do you think? Did Xzone get redemption with the Deception Worm? I thought they did. I thought that was the best performing shaky head on that Bass Union jig head. And again, this is one you could fish on either. The only thing that I would say about the Frenzy is the worm is a little thin in this area to go over a barb. I think it works much better on the weedless because you're just slipping it up over that EWG area, and it holds very well there. I thought this worm performed fantastic. Super buoyant, floated really well. The colors are fantastic. It's really a minor thing for them to fix the packaging. Now, I don't know, maybe it's a big thing. I'm not a manufacturer, I don't know, but this says proven designs made with top grade super soft plastics and special fine salt formula. Xzone leads us to believe that this is a superior product. Let's have some superior packaging. I really think it would go a long ways. I would rather, instead of getting 12 worms, I would rather get 10 worms that are shaped the way they're supposed to, clamshell, whatever that means you need to do. I think it'd be worth it. That's my opinion, okay? That said, the worm is a winner. I will buy them in the pack they're in anyway. It'd be nice if they were straight. Will that make a difference to the fish? Probably not this one. This one's not that bad. It's just a little kink right there. Some of the other ones are worse, but I don't know if it'll make a difference or not. It's just my thought. What I did notice and what I wanted to wait to talk about was that Bass Pro Shops worm compared to the Deception Worm. Little slower action here, right? It was a little slower to rebound when you hopped it up and it was bent to get back here. This Deception Worm's movements were much more, but they rebounded quicker. So they got back to that straight point quicker. The other thing, this worm is more It responds better to slight shaking of slack line to get movement out of the bait. Next would have been the Bass Pro Shops, and then the Busa, or not the Busa, the Divine Shaky Worm really seemed to like the hops. Shake, 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 hop, shake, shake, shake. So just depending on the action you're looking for, all of these worms were great. If I could only have one, it would be the Xzone. The value is better in the Bass Pro Shops. I think they're going to last a little longer. You can do a little more with them because it's a longer worm. And this is what I'll say. This is what I did, okay? When putting this on a shaky head, I'll take that narrow part of the bait up here and I'll just trim it back a little bit. So I got a little bit more meat there, and you'll see that when you do that, you can't really tell because it's pushing up against that head. So it just becomes one. And it fits on there a little better. You're eliminating that thin part of the worm. Now you could also do that to the Deception Worm, but that's a 6-inch worm, that's a 6.5. There's just a little more room to do it. Anyway, food for thought. Lots of things you can do with these baits, guys, and the pool is really helping out because once you learn how to best fish the bait you're fishing, the more effective we can be at triggering bites, right? All right. If you enjoyed the content, drop a comment, hit that like button. We'll see you on the next one. I'm Sean the Average Angler. We out.